first question. Which section talks about using current research theory in practice?
It's section 2.
Section 2 is? For the second question, which section emphasizes evaluating program effectiveness and methods?
Section 3.
Section 3 is? For the third question, in which section do health educators show sensitivity to social and cultural diversity?
Section 1.
Section 1 is? For the fourth question, where do health educators promote informed choice without coercion?
Section 4.
Section 4 is? For the last question, in which section do health educators communicate potential outcomes of services?
Section 5.
Section 5 is? Miss Martha, let's proceed to the evaluation room. Good morning, Miss Martha. So please pick your question. So Miss Martha, your question is, what is the core focus of Section 2?
Well, thank you, Sir Joro. So, in Section 2 of Article 4, health educators are always staying up to date with the latest research, theories, and practical strategies. They don't just follow trends, they actually help shape the professional and standard guidelines we use in health education today. Well, a few examples show how theory and technology come together in this field. So, firstly, we have the health belief model, which is a model in 1950s which helped explain why people or how they avoid or take health actions like getting vaccinated or going to checkups. Like this is based on how they risk something, that is, if they believe the action will help. Next, we also have social cognitive theory. So this is developed by Albert Bandura. This theory shows that we learn by watching others. So it's big on role models, like believing your own ability to change. This is also perfect for things like school fitness programs. And lastly, the recently trending innovation, which is AI chatbots, which these tools can give health tips and symptoms, support and check on patients anytime. So this can be utilized for cognitive behavioral theory as well to help people manage stress or anxiety in a friendly and tech-based way.
Wow, that's so amazing, Miss Martha. Who are the target of this section and who will benefit from this section?
Well, this section primarily affects health educators as it shapes professional standard, and most of all, it importantly serves as for the diverse populations and communities see, because they educate especially when we have to consider age, cognitive state, learning methods, and culture. So by staying updated, educators can better meet the evolving needs of people across different backgrounds, so like culture and health situations that soon may have the possibility of giving a contribution to future health educators as well. For example, when a health educator goes to a rural village and they learn from research that people understand better when it is explained through stories they relate to. So using the health belief model, which looks at what people believe about their chances of getting sick and how serious it is, the educator makes a short cartoon videos in their local language. So the video will show a story of a man who ignores signs of diabetes, gets sick, but then changes his habits and gets better. So the story helps villagers see that they could get diabetes, that it can cause serious problems, and that healthy changes like eating better and exercising can help prevent it.
Oh, that's so interesting, Ms. Martha. So, what are the impacts, or what's the impact of that on health education?
Well, its impact is using updated theories and current data that makes health education more relevant, accurate, and effective. So when educators base their programs on well-researched models like the health belief model or the social cognitive theory, they're able to create messages that truly connect to people's needs, concerns, and motivation. So this makes interventions more engaging and meaningful, encouraging individuals to take positive action. So it also builds trust, since the information is grounded in proven science rather than guesswork. So as a result, health programs are more likely to succeed and have a lasting impact on communities they serve.
Thank you for that informative explanation, Ms. Martha. Ms. Flores, let's proceed to the evaluation room. Ms. Kate, please speak your question. Ms. Kate, your question is, tell me what Section 3 is all about.
Okay, so Section 3 is all about the program evaluation specialists and epidemiologists. They may not always be seen wearing white uniforms like us nurses, but their impact in healthcare is very undeniable. They're the ones behind the scenes, analyzing, evaluating, and guiding the direction of health programs through solid evidence. Because of them, our health education becomes much more effective, more targeted, and more meaningful. And to me, that's real impact, not just in theory, but also in life change and life saving.
Oh, so can you just please tell me a real scenario where Section 3 is present?
Alright, so let's say there's a rise in cases in a certain community. An epidemiologist steps in to investigate. They collect data from hospitals and then identify which partners have the most cases. Then, if they found out where most of the patients come from, to which they, let's say for example, they find out that they are school-age children, they discover a pattern which is stagnant waters near school zones. Now, a program evaluation specialist works alongside them to assess if the current dengue awareness campaign in schools is really effective. They conduct surveys, interviews, and review outcomes. Turns out, many students don't fully understand how to prevent mosquitoes from breathing at home. So based on these findings, they recommend changes like using more interactive teaching methods, involving parents, and distributing simplified materials.
That's great. What's their impact on health education?
So its impact on health education. Thanks to this collaboration, health education becomes much more focused and effective. Instead of generic reminder, schools now provide targeted evidence-based lessons that students can actually apply. The content is based on real data and not mainly just by assumptions. This shows how these professionals turn complex health challenges into understandable practical knowledge, making health education not just formative, but at the same time life-saving.
Thank you for your explanation, Ms. Lee.
Thank you so much.
J Twins, Please proceed to the evaluation room. Hello, JPs. Please state your question. So, JPs, your question is, what Section 4 is all about, and what are their key responsibilities?
So in this section, actually this should have a lot of professional skills required, but I would only mention few. So first is the communication. So health promotion specialists must communicate health information clearly and effectively. They are responsible for ensuring that the messages they share are not only understandable but also tailored to the needs of their audience. So this aligns with their role in delivering evidence-based health education and collaborating with communities and professionals. Because good communication fosters trust, understanding, and active participation in health decisions. The second one, we have the cultural sensitivity. So cultural sensitivity means understanding and respecting the diverse backgrounds, beliefs, and values of individuals and communities. Because these skills ensures that education strategies are inclusive, respectful, and more likely to succeed in promoting behavioral change. And the third one, we have the teaching skills. Because teaching is at the core of health promotion. These professionals design, implement, and evaluate educational strategies to encourage healthy behaviors. Effective teaching involves not only delivering content, but also engaging learners, adapting their needs, and creating an environment that supports learning. Because these skills help in translating complex health information to simple and actionable knowledge. So in this section, it will also help impact on health education. First is it will increase awareness. Health educators help people become more aware of health risks, wellness strategies, and available resources. By using clear and evidence-based communication, they ensure individuals are informed about topics like nutrition, disease prevention, hygiene, and mental health. This awareness is often the first step up in motivating people to change in healthy behaviors or adopt healthier lifestyle. The second one, we have to prevent illnesses. One of the main goals of health education is prevention. Educators design and implement programs to teach people how to reduce the risk of illness through vaccinations, proper hygiene, and regular checkups. Health educators empower individuals to make informed decisions that lead to healthier views. Whether it's choosing to quit smoking, eat healthier, and do exercise regularly, or manage stress.
Oh, thank you for that, JPs. So, I would like to ask another question. What are the professional skills required, and what are the impacts of this on health education?
So, this section for health promotion specialists or behavioral health educators. Health promotion specialists or behavioral health educators shall uphold the highest standards of ethical and professional conduct and the delivery of health education. They are responsible for designing, implementing, and evaluating strategies to promote healthy behaviors and improve the well-being of individuals and communities. These professionals must ensure that the information they disseminate is evidence-based, culturally sensitive, and appropriate for the target population. They must collaborate with other health professionals, stakeholders, and community-supported environment for learning. Furthermore, they are expected to respect rights, dignity, and confidentiality in all individuals they serve, and to advocate for policies and practices to reduce health disparities and empower people to make informed health decisions.
Thank you for your active participation, JPs. Ms. Malbashas, please proceed to the evaluation room. So good day, Ms. Malbashas. So today, please repeat the question. Okay, Ms. Malbashas, your question is, what competencies or traits should a health educator have, and how does this contribute to public health, equity, or health literacy?
So, the Section 5 focuses on the role of health educators and communicating the potential outcomes of proposed services.
individuals have access to information about potential outcomes before decisions are made. So the skills, the traits that health educators should possess to be effective in their roles are skills such as communications, empathy, cultural competence, and adaptability. So these are essential for engaging diverse populations and addressing their unique health needs. So this section contributes to overall goals like improving health, promoting health equity, or enhancing health diversity in the community. So by addressing each of these categories, health educators can create a structured and comprehensive approach to their work, ensuring that they're effective and aligned with the needs of the populations they serve. So that's all.
Well, thank you for that information, Ms. Balbasias. Ms. Faye, please proceed to the evaluation room. Hello, Ms. Faye. You can now plead your question. Your question, Ms. Faye, is what is the main idea of Section 1? And who does this section affect or serve?
So, Article 4 of Section 1 of the responsibility in the delivery of health education highlights the need for health educators to act with integrity by respecting the rights and dignity of all individuals. It emphasizes cultural sensitivity, legal compliance, and the importance of creating inclusive and appropriate programs that reflect social and cultural diversity. Okay, so the section primarily targets health educators guiding the professional conduct while also serving diverse communities. They educate by promoting fairness, respect, and ethical standards in health education by people.
Thank you for that, Ms. Faye.